Okay, and welcome once again to Rugby Sevens TV with me, Tom Burwell from UR7s. I'm joined by some faces you'll recognise, Matt Turner and Vuya Sankar. Gents, good to see you again.
Oh, it's good to be back. Love to be at Vasco's again. Love this place.
Good to be back. Enjoyed Las Vegas and Vancouver. It was quite nice.
Yeah, which gets us straight back onto it. We're here in beautiful Cape Town, but the action's been in North America, and breathtaking action it was on the AstroTurf of North America. Vuya, what were your takes from the weekend?
Oh, I mean, the teams played well. I mean, the teams that won the tournaments played well. I think for me, it was just nice to see the Canadians coming out to support the Sevens, and definitely always in Vegas, it's always a party, so it was quite good to see on the telly.
Yeah, it was a great couple of tournaments. It's interesting to see guys from Vegas, all the lights and everything, and then teams putting photos out about being up in snow. It's a massive contrast, and that's one of the beauties of the Sevens Series.
I mean, that's the World Series now, right?
Yeah.
1 minute you're in the deserts of Nevada, and the next minute you're in Whistler, in Vancouver, which of course only hosted the Winter Olympics not long ago, and now we're in some Summer Olympic season. Let's talk about Vancouver and Vegas. There were some star performances there, but who is your standout man in Vegas, Matt?
I think every time I'm watching the series at the moment, I'm always excited to watch SEABELO play. He's scoring tries. He's not having second season syndromes, like we like to call it. He's top of the try scoring list again, and he's 3 off what he had last year already, 3 or 4 off what he's off last year, and he's just getting better and better.
Interestingly, he's not just a speedster either, right? Like, he's doing a lot more now on the field than perhaps he was this time last year.
Yeah, he's getting involved more. He's hitting breakdowns. The support lines are why he's on top of the try scorers list. He's always there on your shoulder, and his whole game's developed as a player. He's everywhere. There's not really a part of his game where if I was going to analyze him, where I'd be, well, he's weak in that area.
And Vuya, anybody that stand out for you over the last couple of weeks in North America?
Yeah, I think like Matt has said, I think SEABELO is definitely up there. I mean, he scored 11 tries in one tournament, so we both know that that's very hard to achieve. But if you look at Sam Dixon in both tournaments, I think he played very well. I think he was player of the final in Vancouver. But also DJ Forbes has come strongly. I think he's come back and he's fitter. He's looking very good. I would say he was probably one of the top forwards in both tournaments.
So it's great, even though we've got all these new names on the World Series, we're still talking about DJ Forbes after a decade, yeah? Which is, I mean, from what I saw as well, DJ was a revelation. Some of those turnovers that he got in that final were out of the ordinary. There were sides that did well, and we've obviously talked about New Zealand and South Africa, and there were sides that perhaps were struggling. And we briefly touched on what was going to help England and what they had to do to go deep into the tournament last time we were here. Vuya, I know you watched them quite carefully. What were your views on England in North America last couple of weeks?
Yeah, for me, the team seems like they're not firing at the moment. I think I don't know what is going on in the camp, but if I mean you look at their results, they drew against Japan first game up, and then they lost their 4 games in a row. So it was very difficult to judge from that performance. As I see it, that they've got some experience. I mean, Rodwell was in the mix again, but the guys are still not coming out firing. So I would be very interested to see what is going on in the camp. I think as management, for their management, they will have to look at each individual and look at themselves as well and see what they're not giving the players.
Matt, I know it's a slightly difficult subject for you to talk about, but you went through a tough season in 2012, 2013 when England were both winning cups but also falling into bowls, which is similar to this year. What's the mindset in the camp? Not talking about players or performance, but just as a player, what are the challenges that you're facing in a season like this?
I think this season there's about 2-3 weeks between each pairing of tournaments, so you don't actually have a lot of time to switch your mindset. I think they need to restore a bit of pride in the jersey. It's something we've spoken about off camera, and I think every time you put on the shirt, I know they're probably they're all in for it, but I think they must just grab that chance. Now is a perfect time to stand up and show you who you are within that squad.
Sure.
And I think as we've gone to the senior boys, they need to start driving that a little bit more, and lead by example. Set a culture within the team now that's going to completely turn around. I won't be surprised if they come out in the next 2 tournaments a completely different side.
Well, I'm sure there's a few English fans looking at what I've seen on social media that will be hoping for that as well. One of the sides that stood out for me, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it, is Australia. Andy Friend has come in, new coach, 4 tournaments, and arguably the most successful coach that's ever been on the World Series based on those 4 tournaments. What is it that's got Australia clicking? How come they're playing as well as they are, Vuyo?
I mean, they seem to be growing, and if we have to look at also the experience that they have in the team, I mean, there's 1 or 2 boys that I knew, but they're actually growing quite well as a squad. I think maybe what Andy Friend has done differently is that he's brought in maybe a different culture that the players are not used to. They seem to be working very hard now in terms of making tackles and scoring tries. So for them, like you said, they're the most successful in 3 finals now. They've got to 3 finals, which is good for them. I mean, that's never happened. And that can only create belief, can only create a positive mindset within the players. If you look at 1 or 2 guys maybe that have stepped up a lot now, is obviously the captain. Jenkins has stepped up quite well now. And I think if you look at Lewis Holland, he's definitely been awesome. So, like you say, he's actually grown in stature now. So it would be good to see him in the Olympics.
And we talked. I almost feel like we have to talk. We talked about SEABELO last time we spoke. Quade Cooper's had his first 2 tournaments now for Australia. What were your thoughts, Matt?
No, I think he eased himself in quite well. The transition seemed more natural for him than it did for Sonny Bill Williams. I know he didn't have a great final in Vegas, but he's one of those players that has that spark, and he's very spatially aware, and his passing and everything is right on spot. And I think it just brought another dimension to that Australian team. And going back to the Australian team, they seem to have a balance. They've got Hutchinson on the wing who's scoring tries. They've got, as you said, Jenkins who's putting all the hard work in the forwards. And I think once you find that balance within a squad and you change a small thing in the culture, it starts clicking, and that's where they're going.
I mean, I've been really impressed, and I know that there was an article from the ARU today which was saying that one of the big things they've got to do now is kind of kick on. Australia have got to win some of those finals as well now and turn over some of those big games. Great to see them come back in their 3rd place game against Fiji last week, but they've got to kick on. We're going to take a break now. We're going to be right back with a very special interview with Juan De Jongh. Matt and I.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable for the tournament to come to Cape Town. It's been special for me. I'm from Cape Town, and for me to play my 2nd tournament in Cape Town, it's unbelievable in front of my family and friends and the supporters that's been supporting the Western Province throughout all these years. So it's been very special, and for us going to that tournament, it's been a tough one. Losing against Kenya in our 2nd game, and then coming day 2, firing up and winning the tournament. So it's been very special, the whole tournament. So for us, it's just been unbelievable. Yes, I must say I've played a lot of big games. I've played, my biggest game actually was in 2000 and I think 2010 when I played against New Zealand at the Soccer City, and there was like 90,000 people. So I was used to it. It's just important to close the gates and make sure that you stay in the moment. And this has been special just for the people from also Africa and from Cape Town supporting us and pushing us through, and for us to make it special for not only for Cape Town but for the country as well. Yeah, definitely. When you come from Cape Town, the media and the support here is unbelievable. And the people here, they love the rugby. And they come out, when the Western Province Stormers play, they come out in the numbers, and they call it the Newlands Faithful. So they're one of the best supporting crowds in the whole competition. So for us, it was just unbelievable to see that the people that came out for us to support us. Yeah, I must say it's always been tough to go from 15s to 7s, then from 7s to 15s, because all of a sudden there's a lot of small detail that you need to catch now, and you need to catch it early because you don't have a lot of time to catch it, because the tournaments it's like weeks in between each other. So all of a sudden like in 15 when you need to track a guy for only 2 or 3 meters less than right of you, in 15 is about 5 or 10 meters. That goes to your passing as well. You need to throw longer passing. Defense is one of the big things when it comes to sevens, and all those small things. All of a sudden, you need to lift the guys in the air trying to get kickoffs. All of a sudden, you need to throw line-out throws and stuff like that. Small details you're not used to when it comes to 15s. So, yeah, I must say, I'm really excited for this game. I must say, the first few weeks it's been unbelievable. We got the results in the first 2 games, but last week we didn't get the result. It was a nail-biter game till the end. And looking at this weekend, the Brumbies are unbeaten and have been playing some very, very good rugby. But we're excited. We want to challenge ourselves against the best. And the Brumbies, they're playing some good rugby, and they're right up there. So we're challenging ourselves this weekend. Yes, I must say the game has changed a lot. I must say that there's the excitement and the energy is on the sevens right now, because especially looking forward to the Olympics now. And I mean, the Blitzbok have done absolutely fantastic. It's always a difficult competition, because when it comes to sevens, there's no easy game. And for you to find yourself when you can get yourself pushing yourself into semi-finals and final spot, it must say a lot about the character and what you have in that squad. And I mean, there's some incredible talent in the Blitzbok squad. There's a big squad of, say, 26 to 30 guys. And if it comes to Olympics time, I know it's going to be a very difficult decision for the head coach and the selectors to pick a squad, because you've got a fantastic talent amongst. Yeah, to be honest, Coach Neil approached me a time ago, and he came to me and he said that he's actually keen looking at me for the big squad and giving me opportunity to go to the Olympics. And I was like, okay. At first my focus was all about 15s, but I mean, as soon as you asked me, that was me just telling myself, listen here, there's someone out there and there's a coach out there thinking that I might be good enough to go to the Olympics, and I need to give it the best shot and best chance I can give it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter you just being there and just filling a spot.
Toughest thing when playing sevens?
I must say defense.
Defense. Toughest thing when playing 15s?
Defense.
Defense. No transition. Okay. SEABELO Sonata or Brian Banner?
SEABELO Sonata.
Sonny Bill Williams or Quade Cooper?
I'll go with Quade Cooper.
Winning a Rugby 15s World Cup or a gold medal?
It's a tough question, but I'll go with gold medal.
Hi, welcome back. It was certainly great to spend some time with Juan De Jongh this week. It's a very special environment, both at the Stormers here in Cape Town and out in Stellenbosch, and to hear about him talking about that special environment and his Olympic dream with Neil Powell was certainly good for me. And Matt, it was good for you?
Yeah, that's great. It's nice to get a view from both sides, between a 15s culture and a 7s culture, and how he's found a way to adapt and be able to switch his goals, his mindset that quickly between the two. It's great to see in a player.
Yeah, and then hearing him talk about a sevens environment being a test match environment and atmosphere is certainly something special. I mean, I know you probably played in some special environments for the box as well, but Cape Town was pretty special this year at finals time against Argentina, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was one of the best tournaments I've watched actually in years, in South Africa especially. But I think, going back to Juan De Jongh, it's interesting that he was part of the meeting in 2008 where we had to decide and change the culture of the Springbok Sevens team way back then when I was still playing. And now to find him back in that mix, it must be very interesting for him, and seeing all the different faces that went there back in the days.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah,
certainly some different faces in that Springbok side. Yeah. Though Francois Hougaard is signed full time in Worcester, so perhaps some of them are using it as a stepping stone as well. Anyway, leading on, let's. As is always the case, we're going to do some spotlight on, and we're going to look at a couple of teams on the World Series that you guys have spent some time analysing over the last couple of weeks in North America. And I know, Vuyo, you've been interested by the side that made the final here in Cape Town, and that's Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have had an interesting season. I think they're lying sixth at the moment. So, which is for them, I think, is probably closest to one of their best seedings by this time of the year. Well, the one thing I looked at was the three things: kicking, breakdown, and basically one of their top players. And when I looked at their kicking, I mean, their kicking has always been part of a big Argentinian culture, especially in sevens. Looking at their top goal scorer, which is their head coach now, probably 50% or 60% of his tries is scored of kicking. But I mean, yeah, that's for me is actually they've used that this year to try actually better their performance. But then if you look at their breakdown, they've got a lot of technical things that they do in the breakdown. So they give a lot especially for the match officials to think about in terms of how they're using their tackler to gain advantage, and also using their sweeper, which is a scrum half, to get the advantage. And if you look at one of their top players, I mean, it's Axel Muller. He's only at 16 tournaments and already is performing like he's been on the circuit for a couple of years. So for me, it's a good team, and I think they can only grow. And especially if you look at the amount of events that they had within their squad, they had a bit of 3 players, I think, who were just making their debut in these last 2 tournaments. So they're definitely growing in stature, and it's good to see Brazzoni back with his 54 tournaments now. And obviously, Gaston, he's also been on 44 tournaments. So they've got
experience there.
Yeah, they've got a bit of experience, which is good to see.
Got a question for Vuyo, the coach then. I've heard Gordon Titchen say kicking is for karate. But Argentina are only second in the kicking stats this year behind South Africa, both of which are kicking a fair amount of ball. South Africa, you've got Sonatla running onto that ball. It's a bit of a no-brainer why they're doing that. But as a coach, how important is the kicking game in sevens? And, the spectrum that is Cora kicking a lot, Titchen's kicking not at all. Where do you fit in with that?
All I'll say is that the way I see it is that you have to have the speedsters to be able to retain the kick. Sometimes you kick to attack. So it depends what most of the kicks, like if you look at Australia, for example, they get penalties and they kick it for touch, where some teams will be playing and then they'll kick it through to get their speedsters chasing. Gordon's never had the full, like the quick wingers. So maybe his structure doesn't fit into that system. But if you look at Argentina back in the days, if you look at South Africa with SEABELO, and you look at even England with Matt and Dan, it was working quite well then, especially to relieve your pressure, especially in your 22, to actually kick it downfield and try chase and put the sweeper under pressure.
Is that the thought in that World Cup final?
Yeah, man. I guess it was the thought, but I don't think we realised that we'll be running 50-metre shuttles for 20 minutes in the pouring rain. But as we were saying, your kick is only as good as your chase, and I think the teams that are kicking the most are kicking it for a positive outcome, not a panic. And if you put it on the money, we'll see SEABELO chasing it. 80% of the time, you're going to get it. Argentina, they there's the football culture within them, and they have the ability for little chips, deeper kicks, and it works for them.
So another side that probably fits into the middle with their kicking numbers, but is a side that certainly caught your eye and caught everyone's eye over the last couple of years is the USA Eagles Sevens. And Matt, what are some of the things that have stood out for you, especially in the home swing for those guys over the last couple of weeks?
I think you've got to look at the mindset of the players, and obviously you can't look very far away at the speed of the speed and their breakdowns stuff. Speed. Teams still haven't worked it out how they can cover, Carlin and Perry Baker. They're running riot at the moment. I think Perry scored 47 tries already in his 2 years, and I think the team that can nullify that the quickest will then USA won't really be a problem for them in my eyes as of yet. And then obviously you go into the mindset. Mike Friday's great. He's great at getting the best of his players. And with Americans, it's you got to go the American way. Get everyone pumped up, shouting, screaming. But then you also got to have the guys within that shouting and screaming that calm things down, like Maddie. And you can just see the amount of work they're putting in. You look at their social media stuff, and the guys who shouldn't be hitting breakdowns as much as they do are putting in the hard yards, their breakdown work, and they're just improving their game all round. And you look at the last tournament in Vancouver, they didn't have Carlin, who was away running 60-meter indoor track.
For Nike, I saw.
For Nike, for someone to cross over from not doing any indoor running to finish fifth.
Is that why do you run for Adidas? Or?
Oh, naturally.
Yeah.
Only stairs, but we'll get to that later. Okay. And I just think USA are a team that people are worried about. They haven't quite put them up into the top 4 teams yet, but I think they can surprise anyone in the day.
Vuyo, you go back with your Kenya experience, and there's sort of twofold to this question. One, Mike had great success with Kenya as well, and had the boys really believing in the structure and the mindset. They attacked breakdowns. They were always coming forwards, very similar to what your Danny Barretts and so on are doing now. And then they let your Willie Ambakas and your Collins Injuras go.
Yeah.
How, if you're coaching Kenya or coaching anyone, do you defend the Chuckle brothers, as they like to be called, Carla Niles and Perry Baker? And two, how impressive is what Mike has done in a relatively short period of time with the Eagles?
Yeah, like Matt has said, I think what Mike has done, it's amazing with the USA team, especially get him to understand the rugby culture, because they didn't grow up like that. But if your defense structures and your defense system is based on those two players and how you can cover them, then you're more likely going to win that game. But it will be interesting. Mike will have to start maybe looking at how we can actually utilizing those boys differently, in terms of maybe not even playing him out at wing sometimes, but playing him at sweeper so that they're back in the middle when the ball comes back. So it will be interesting how they do that. But like you said, Mike has always gotten excited with big boys and strong boys, because he likes the physical stuff, he likes the contact. So when he coached Kenya, I mean, he announced, he was mentioning one of the interviews in the week that Oscar Oma is probably one of the strongest players that is coached, which is, like you said, you look at Danny Barrett, that's exactly how he plays. So he plays a lot of the physical game, then he uses those pieces to basically outrun the rest of the guys. But for me, what I think is that he needs to start maybe looking at how we can utilize those two boys now and putting them in the middle more, so that they actually run against the slower players.
For me, and this is from the ill-educated, I know, but the thing that's most impressive for me with the Eagles is the depth that they now have. The fact that Carlin and Perry are running riot is partly blessed with genetics and what they were given, and two, creating the space for those guys to make in. But for them to not have Zach Test this weekend, to not have Carlin Isles, to lose 2 more players and bring in Ben Leotaga, Pat Blair, and still beat an England side that I know was facing similar injury problems, prove their depth is there, and then with no subs, almost turn over a Fiji side that they haven't beaten since Port Elizabeth last year. That for me says it all. The Eagles are in with a chance with a gold medal, and now have a Super Bowl winner that they've added to the mix, I've seen, Matt.
Yeah, I've just also seen that now. I've seen some of his highlights from when he previously played,
Beast.
and he's an absolute animal. It's, as View was saying, it's the guys Mike likes. He might make that difference that View is talking about, having that more physical game, creating more space for Carlin.
Maybe we're beginning to see the dream team come back again, but in rugby rather than basketball.
Yeah.
Certainly the American fans would like to think so anyway, and it's going to be very interesting come Rio. We're going to take one more break, and then we're going to be back with our final thoughts and a cheeky look ahead to the granddaddy of them all, Hong Kong Sevens, and the pools that were drawn this week. We'll be right back. Spent some great time today looking back at North American swing and the Argentinians and Australia and England, and we've covered a lot off, but of course it's Hong Kong coming up, the one that everybody wants to win. Fiji go in as reigning champions. Both of you boys have played in Hong Kong. I want one experience from each of you. That doesn't have to be on the field. It can be off the field if needs be. But what is your experience that stands out for you in Hong Kong?
Yeah, mate, it's still playing the final in Hong Kong against Fiji in 2009. And also just one more is the noise. Yesterday, the atmosphere is just simply amazing.
That final, how'd you get on?
We lost to Fiji 26-24.
Was that last minute?
The last minute kick.
Yeah.
Last minute kick.
No, I actually didn't remember that. I was just checking. Matt, your experience of Hong Kong?
Actually similar. Playing in the final, not so quite close, losing to New Zealand. You probably won't remember that. You're probably in South Stand that time too. But other than that, just the off-field experience. The city comes alive for the Sevens, and everyone loves it. It's a 3-day tournament, and it's just great.
The groups are up on the the screen at the moment. It doesn't seem fair not to give an experience of mine. I remember standing in the South Stand 2 years ago and looking over at a group of guys, and they'd got between them, I think there was 8 of them, they'd got 50 double cheeseburgers, and it was on the Sunday, and they'd snuck in 50 double cheeseburgers, and then when France came round to clap the crowd, they pelted the French team with the double cheeseburgers. So Hong Kong is an experience for all on and off the field. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We've got a new feature, Challenge Matt, where we will certainly see Matt and see whether he's got any athletic prowess still or not. We'll have a couple more interviews, and we'll be back here at Vasco Da Gama, the social hub and great food spot in Cape Town, with Vuyo and Matt. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all soon.